Danny Van Ruyen crosses the start-finish line at the end of their outlap. It's clear that Danny Van Ruyen is pushing Thiercar to the very edge of traction on this qualifying lap. Danny Van Ruyen has completed their first flying lap in 1:24.803. Danny Van Ruyen will be happy having put themselves into first in this qualifying session.
Every fraction of a second counts. I'm sure they can find a little extra in there.
There are just over 5 minutes left in this qualification session. Danny Van Ruyen will be happy having put themselves into first in this qualifying session.
It may be difficult for them to improve further on that. Sometimes trying too hard makes you slower, they need to drive smooth and smart.
Danny Van Ruyen is looking for ways to improve their consistency.
Every driver needs something different, Lucy. Some drivers excel when they push harder, while other drivers benefit more from relaxing.
Danny Van Ruyen will be happy having put themselves into first in this qualifying session.
Every fraction of a second counts. I'm sure they can find a little extra in there.
Henko van den Berg is on their practice out lap. It's a lovely day for racing here at East London Grand Prix circuit as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race. Mika Allers is on their practice out lap. It's a lovely day for racing here at East London Grand Prix circuit as we watch these drivers warm up and get ready for the race. COC1, Peter, is on their practice out lap.
I don't know about you, Lucy, but I'm expecting some hard-fought on-track battles today.
Holding strong in second place is Melvin Gauss.
Big things expected for Melvin Goes today.
Ernest Heather is going to be starting from third.
Ernest Heather will be expecting to bring home solid points.
Tijhan van Rooyen is fourth.
Another good start for the South African driver.
Lining up in fifth is Dylan Bizagi. On the sixth grid slot we have Henko van den Berg. As the engines roar to life, James Leach prepares to take off from the seventh position on the starting grid.
James Leach will have wanted a better start than seventh.
The eighth starting position belongs to Mika Allers, who will be looking to make up ground early on.
They'll be looking for a clean race.
Our ninth place starter, Renier Leach, is a driver who knows how to make up ground on the track. Ryan Pay is placed in 10th.
But if they can find their rhythm early on, they could be a real threat.
Brendan Griesel is in a solid position starting from 11th on the grid. Lyle Ramsey has qualified 12th. And we have liftoff. The race is now underway. This first sector will test the drivers' skills and their ability to stay focused.
Maintaining composure is essential in this high-stakes environment. The ability to react and adapt will be the key to success.
The drivers are jockeying for position. Taihan Van Ruyen will be looking to get off to a good start and consolidate their position.
What a beautiful day for racing here at East London Grand Prix circuit. This is going to be good to watch.
This is going to be one hell of a race. I can already feel it.
The drivers are walking a fine line during the first lap melee as everyone tries to establish themselves. It's easy for inexperienced racers to blow it in T1.
There's some intense battling throughout the field as everyone is feeling out the drivers around them. Settling into a rhythm is going to be crucial here. He can't hold on. Ernest Heather is losing time to Dylan Visagi. Look at the way the drivers are hugging those corners. It's like they're on rails.
Speaking of rails, did you know that the first racetrack was built on a railway in 1896? I bet those drivers...
Danny Van Ruyen will be happy having put themselves into first in this qualifying session.
Every fraction of a second counts. I'm sure they can find a little extra in there.
This one's going to be tough. Dylan Visagi is getting their elbows out, and there may not be enough time left for Taihan Van Ruyen to make a move. What a move! Dylan Visagi has moved up to third. Looks like we might have a great battle starting here between James Leach in 7th and Ryan Pay. It's been tense with a gap of only 0.3 seconds. Great driving from James Leach, who has just gained a place and moved up to 6th. Anyone who says that SimSpeed Motorsports is not the best racing club on the planet is clearly insane. The quality of driving we're seeing out there on the track is absolutely phenomenal.
I couldn't agree more. It's like these drivers were born to race. They're weaving in and out of traffic, taking corners at unbelievable speeds, and making it all look effortless. It's clear that they've put in the time and effort to hone their skills.
Rising to the occasion and claiming victory would help to cement this driver's legendary status. It's looking good for Danny Van Ruyen, sitting in first.
Absolutely, and they need to keep driving with determination to stay in that position.
While Melvin Gauss is not under immediate threat from Taihan Van Ruyen, they still need to stay focused and avoid... Wait, now I may be wrong here, but I'm not sure that's the racing line. The action is heating up here as Taihan Van Ruyen is in third, defending from Dylan Visagi, who is only 0.4 seconds away.
It's not over yet. Dylan Visagi is right on Taihan Van Ruyen.
Wait, now I may be wrong here, but I'm not sure that's the racing line. A solid performance from Henko van den Berg, who is holding down 5th. The gap between Brendan Griesel and Taylor Randall may be wide, but that doesn't mean Brendan Griesel is safe. They have to keep their concentration and avoid any lapses in performance. Ernest Heather has a mountain to climb at the moment to close that gap with Ivan Lerm. I expect their only hope at this point is that Ivan Lerm makes an error.
It's not over till the checkered flag drops, though, and it's important they don't lose concentration at this point.
Mika Allers is holding 8th, but Lyle Ramsey is right on their tail. The delta between Tyler Scott in 11th and Renier Leach remains over a second, but Tyler Scott is not letting up. They're pushing hard and looking for any... Wait, now I may be wrong here, but I'm not sure that's the racing line. The pressure is on for Tyler Scott as they try to catch up to Renier Leach.
Sometimes you have to take risks to win, but pushing the car too hard can be a costly mistake. Tyler Scott needs to be careful not to overdo it.
This is where the skill and experience of the drivers really come into play. James Leach SNR will need to stay focused and keep pushing, even when the gap seems insurmountable. It's not over until the checkered flag drops. The race is heating up as Taylor Randall in 19th closes in on Leon Van Leeuwen. The gap is just over a second, and I'm sure they are going to do everything possible to try and close the distance. They're not giving up without a fight. This is a thrilling battle as Tijhan Van Rooyen edges closer to Melvin Gauss in their fight for P2.
Don't forget the role of aerodynamics. Tijhan Van Rooyen should use slipstreaming to their advantage and close the gap to Melvin Gauss.
Things don't seem to be going James Leach's way in this race, as that's a big gap they'll have to close. Wait, now I may be wrong here, but I'm not sure that's the racing line. Well, it doesn't look like Mika Allers is going to be much of a threat to anyone soon, let alone Ryan Pay. Heartbreak for Mika Allers, as they slip down the field. This is going to be a nail-biter. Willie Van Wyck is defending for their life, but Brendan Griesel is right there doing everything they can to force a mistake.
Brendan Griesel is certainly pushing all they can, but the gap might just be too much. Unless Willie Van Wyck makes a mistake, it looks like they'll hold on to 14th.
Wait, now I may be wrong here, but I'm not sure that's the racing line. This is what it's all about, folks. Willie Van Wyck is in hot pursuit of Brendan Griesel, who's just trying to stay ahead.
Should things go south between Willie Van Wyck and Brendan Griesel, we might witness a high-speed game of bumper cars, but trust me, it's way less fun with real race cars.
Tijhan Van Rooyen is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift. These drivers are walking a razor's edge between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely, it's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving. That's where experience and skill come into play. You can see that car bouncing around as they ride the curves. It's a risky move that could end in disaster.
A top lap time there from Taylor Randall, setting their fastest lap of the session so far.
The more laps they do, the faster these guys get. This should make for some great racing, Lucy.
The fans are on the edge of their seats. It doesn't get any closer than this.
It's a thrilling battle for position as these two drivers give it their all. This is racing at its finest.
It's looking good for Tijhan Van Rooyen, who has gained places and put some distance between themselves and Melvin Gauss.
Absolutely, Lucy, but there's still a long way to go in this race, and Tijhan Van Rooyen can't afford to get complacent. They have to keep driving with intensity and focus.
Dylan Visagi could be looking for a way up the inside of Tijhan Van Rooyen.
If you don't push the boundaries, you will never know where they are.
Oh dear, Dylan Visagi has dropped down to 4th. It's an intense battle for position as Henko van den Berg tries to outmaneuver Dylan Visagi. This is edge of your seat racing.
It's a battle for position as Henko van den Berg tries to make a move on Dylan Visagi. This is what racing is all about.
A great moment for Henko van den Berg, who has just gained a place and moved up the standings.
Yes, Henko van den Berg is driving with real focus and precision, and it's paying off.
It's a battle of wills out there, with Adrian Gauss trying to outsmart and outmaneuver Taylor Randall. The gap is slowly closing, but time is running out. Situations like these often lead to a dramatic finish. Look at that, Dylan Bisagie is hot on the tail of Henko van den Berg. Looking at the lap times, Dylan Bisagie is not currently on pace with Henko van den Berg. Maybe they'll get a chance to see where they can improve.
Hopefully Dylan Bisagie can find some of that time they're losing and get it back.
Lyle Ramsey is placed 13th at the moment. They are hoping to keep their distance ahead of Brendan Griesel, who is 0.3 seconds behind.
That's right, Lyle Ramsey is showing some great form and it looks like Brendan Griesel won't be able to catch up, barring any mistakes.
The gap between Renier Leach and Tyler Scott is razor thin as they vie for 9th in this nail-biting contest.
That's right, Rainier Leach is determined to pass Tyler Scott and secure a higher position.
Superb driving from Renier Leach, who with that overtake has gained a position in the race.
You can't argue with results like that. Rainier Leach is really making their mark on this race.
John, how do racing... Hold up, braking info. Tough break for Renier Leach, who has just lost a position. Every move counts now as Taylor Randall works to reel in Jaco de Beer and overtake for P15. It may seem like Melvin Gauss is far behind, but Henko van den Berg can't afford to let their guard down. One mistake could give Melvin Gauss an opening to catch up. Things are going according to plan for Danny Van Ruyen, who is currently first.
Definitely, but they can't get too comfortable. There are plenty of other drivers who are gunning for that position, and Danny Van Ruyen has to keep pushing to stay on the pace.
The pursuit is on. Leon van Leenden is closing the gap on Adrian Gauss, determined to claim P17.
It's all about finding the perfect opportunity. Leon van Leenden needs to stay patient and wait for Adrian Gauss to make a mistake.
Dylan Bisagie wants to find a way round Melvin Gauss.
Rubbing is racing, but let's just hope they don't rub it too hard.
The tension is building as Dylan Bisagie trails behind Melvin Gauss. The gap is slowly but surely decreasing, and the pressure is mounting. Melvin Gauss is pushing to maintain the lead, while Dylan Bisagie is working to close in and challenge for the position. This is what high-octane racing looks like. Melvin Gauss is breathing down the neck of Henko van den Berg, not giving them any room to relax.
That's right, Lucy. The pressure can easily get the best of even seasoned drivers. The fans are on the edge of their seats, waiting to see who will come out on top in this epic showdown.
The race is really heating up. Brendan Griesel is hunting down Lyle Ramsey with everything they've got.
This is where every inch counts. Brendan Griesel is pushing hard to close the gap on Lyle Ramsey. Absolutely, precision and control are key here. Knowing when to push and when to hold back can be the difference between winning and losing.
Dylan Bisagie is running fifth. They are trying to catch Melvin Gauss.
The gap between them is now just over 0.3 seconds.
Lyle Ramsey wants to close that gap with Brendan Griesel. Oh, this is getting intense. Taylor Randall is just a few car lengths behind James Leach SNR.
The mental game is just as important here. Taylor Randall must keep their cool while putting pressure on James Leach SNR.
A setback for Taylor Randall, who has just been passed.
Definitely, but Taylor Randall is a skilled driver, and they have what it takes to fight back and regain that position.
Things are heating up as James Leach tries to close the gap to Dylan Visagi. Wow, Dylan Visagi is really pushing hard to catch up to Melvin Gauss. There's blood in the water for 4th place. Hey, John, you've had your fair share of races with little action. How did you handle the situation back in your racing days?
Well, Lucy, patience is key in such scenarios. You need to stay focused and be ready to seize any opportunity that comes your way. It's like a game of chess at 200 miles per hour.
This is getting exciting. James Leach is looking for any gap that might open up the position. It's a game of cat and mouse out there, with James Leach trying to find the perfect opportunity to make a move on Dylan Visagi. The gap is over a second, but every fraction counts.
Absolutely, James Leach in 6th will need to be patient and carefully work to reduce that gap without overdriving it, as they can't afford to take unnecessary risks and risk an off or damaging their car. Let's see if they have what it takes to get back into the game here.
Hold up, breaking info. Danny Van Ruyen is in the pits. The leader has just finished the race. A fantastic result for Danny Van Ruyen.
What a result for Danny Van Ruyen. They'll be absolutely thrilled with that performance, and rightly so.
Hold on a second. Taihan Van Ruyen is pitting. Some might say that 2nd place is the first loser, but Taihan Van Ruyen certainly doesn't see it that way. They put in a phenomenal effort and should be proud of their impressive result.
Brilliant. Taihan Van Ruyen showed great skill and determination to take 2nd place.
Well done to Henko van den Berg for securing 3rd place on the podium. Melvin Gauss, Dylan Visagi, James Leach, and Ryan. Breaking news, folks. It looks like Henko van den Berg has been called into the pits. Breaking development. Henko van den Berg has decided to pit. Ryan Pay is on their practice out lap. You've joined us on a breezy day here at East London Grand Prix Circuit, as we're getting ready to kick things off.
The drivers are looking focused out there on the grid. I'm excited for this one, Lucy.
We're seeing Brendan Griesel in the second spot. Sitting in third, it's Mika Allers. And in fourth place, we have Ryan Pay.
I think we are all looking forward to seeing what Ryan Pay can do from here.
It's James Leach, sitting comfortably in fifth. Our sixth place starter, Dylan Bisagie, is a driver who knows how to make up ground on the track.
An opportunity for some good points today, but the others aren't going to make it easy.
Starting from the seventh position, Melvin Gauss will need to navigate through the field to challenge for the win.
But they can't afford to be complacent. This is race day, after all.
Lining up in eighth is Henko van den Berg.
But don't count him out yet. They've got the skills to pay the bills.
Sitting in ninth is Tijhan van Ruyen.
Starting on the mediums tires.
Starting from 10th on the grid is a good position for Danny van Ruyen to launch an attack.
Lining up in the mid-pack.
Lyle Ramsey has qualified 11th. And just like that, the race has started. Now, we'll see who has the skill and nerve to outmaneuver their rivals.
The opening lap is often a hotbed of potential problems. The ability to steer clear of any mishaps will set the stage for a successful race.
The tensions are high, and no one will want to make a crucial mistake on the first lap. As the drivers get this race underway, let me give a shout out to the admin team at SimSpeed Motorsports for making this all possible. Heroes one and all. Out of the gates, and Dylan Visagi is already turning heads, gaining positions quicker than a blink of an eye.
It's like Dylan Visagi had an extra helping of determination for breakfast today, but let's see if they can keep up the pace for the whole race.
Melvin Gauss must have taken a page out of the superhero's book, because they've just shot off like the Flash.
Now, they just need to maintain that speed and focus.
It's a solid performance from Melvin Gauss at the moment. They're holding their position and not getting too caught up in battles around them.
That's the mark of a good driver. Melvin Gauss is staying focused on their own race and not getting distracted.
It's a steady race for Danny Van Ruyen so far. They haven't made any mistakes, and they are maintaining their focus. Great driving from Danny Van Ruyen, who has just gained a place and moved up to fifth. Oh, things are getting intense for Danny Van Ruyen. They're sandwiched between Tyler Scott and Ryan Hay, navigating this high-speed battleground. The gap to the car ahead is 0.2 seconds, while the car behind is only 0.2 seconds away.
Spot-on analysis, Lucy. The gaps to the cars ahead and behind are like a double-edged sword for Danny Van Ruyen. They can use the gaps to their advantage, but they also need to be aware of the threats from both directions.
The pursuit is on. Taihan Van Ruyen is closing the gap on Tyler Scott, determined to claim P6. Rising to the occasion and claiming victory would help to cement this driver's legendary status.
Can they close up enough for a pass? I don't see it personally.
Oh dear, Tyler Scott has dropped down to 7th. This is what high-octane racing looks like. Taihan Van Ruyen is breathing down the neck of Danny Van Ruyen. Hold that thought. Hold the phone. Henko van den Berg has pulled into the pits. This is going to be a nail-biter. Danny Van Ruyen is defending for their life, but Taihan Van Ruyen is right there doing everything they can to force a mistake.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for Taihan Van Ruyen to make up that gap, especially with Danny Van Ruyen defending so well.
Jaco de Beer is holding 13th, but Ernest Heather is right on their tail. A top lap time there from Jaco de Beer, setting their fastest lap of the session so far.
They are certainly in the flow, but they may have to improve further if they want to hold on to 13th.
The action is non-stop as Dylan Visagi shadows Henko van den Berg through every twist and turn, determined to claim first.
When I was racing, we had a saying, if you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much space. Dylan Visagi is definitely living on the edge today.
Ryan Hay wants to find a way round Lyle Ramsey.
And if you're enjoying the racing, please remember to like and subscribe.
This is a challenging position. Hold that thought. Hold the phone. Henko van den Berg has pulled into the pits. This is what racing is all about. Two fierce competitors pushing each other to the limit. Superb driving from Melvin Gauss, who with that overtake has gained a position in the race.
You can't argue with results like that. Melvin Gauss is really making their mark on this race.
Oh, the pressure is really getting to Melvin Gauss. They've just lost 7th spot to Tyler Scott and they need to regroup quickly. It seems like Dylan Visagi is struggling. Their last lap time was a bit off the pace of Henko van den Berg.
It will be interesting to see if Henko van den Berg can keep outpacing Dylan Visagi.
Things are heating up as Ryan Page closes in on Lyle Ramsey. The gap between them is down to practically nothing.
If Ryan Pay gets any closer, they might as well ask Lyle Ramsey for a piggyback ride.
Ryan Pay is giving it their all as they chase down Lyle Ramsey in P5.
That driver is really pushing the limits. They're riding the curbs and pushing the car to its limits.
In racing anything can, and usually does, happen, especially in such an epic showdown.
You can feel the intensity in the air. The slightest mistake could cost either of them valuable time and the position.
He's pulling away. James Leach SNR is increasing the gap to Melvin Gauss.
That's a really strong performance from James Leach SNR. They're not giving Melvin Gauss any chances to catch up.
The intensity is off the charts as Melvin Gauss hounds James Leach SNR. Both drivers pushing themselves to the absolute limit.
That's right, Lucy. The pressure can easily get the best of even seasoned drivers. The fans are on the edge of their seats, waiting to see who will come out on top in this epic showdown.
An impressive showing from Melvin Gauss, who has gained positions and left James Leach SNR in the dust. Hold on to your hats, folks. Dylan Visagi is right on the heels of Henko van den Berg, and we're in for a wild ride.
These two are putting on a masterclass in precision driving. Every turn, every acceleration, calculated to perfection.
A brilliant maneuver from Dylan Visagi, who has just moved up the hill. The gap between Dylan Visagi and Henko van den Berg is getting smaller. It's a game of inches now as Dylan Visagi tails Henko van den Berg closely, ready to capitalize on any mistake.
It's a thrilling battle for position as these two drivers give it their all. This is racing at its finest.
Tijhan van Rooyen wants to close that gap with Danny van Rooyen. It's all about consistency for Ivan Lerm, who is currently 21st.
Definitely, but they can't get too comfortable. There are plenty of other drivers who are gunning for that position, and Ivan Lerm has to keep pushing to stay on the pace.
Things don't seem to be going Jacques Potgieter's way in this race, as that's a big gap they'll have to close to even be in with a shout for gaining a place here.
Anything can happen yet, and it usually does. I've certainly seen drivers come back from worse.
It's a game of cat and mouse out there, with Tijhan van Rooyen trying to find the perfect opportunity to make a move on Danny van Rooyen. The gap is over a second, but every fraction counts.
It's going to be tough for Tijhan van Rooyen, as Danny van Rooyen seems to have found their rhythm. But anything can happen in racing, and we've seen Tijhan van Rooyen pull off some impressive moves before. I'm excited to see if they can make it happen again.
The fans are on the edge of their seats. It doesn't get any closer than this.
A misjudgment by either driver could result in a close encounter of the tyre barrier kind, and that's one handshake they'll want to avoid.
Jacques Potgieter is on a mission, chasing Jaco de Beer, who's desperately trying to stay ahead.
The gap is 0.4 seconds now. Jacques Potgieter is going to have to work a bit harder to close that gap with Jaco de Beer.
A great moment for Jacques Potgieter, who has just gained a place and moved up the standings.
Yes, Jacques Potgieter is driving with real focus and precision, and it's paying off.
We got a close battle as Henko van den Berg closes in on Dylan Visagi. Looks like we might have a great battle starting here between Melvin Gauss in 7th and Ryan Pay. It's been tense with a gap of only 0.3 seconds. Fantastic move from Melvin Gauss, who has just gained a position.
That's what we like to see. Melvin Gauss is really showing their class today.
Tough break for Melvin Gauss, who has just lost a position.
Sucks to be them, Lucy.
The battle for 3 is heating up as Danny Van Ruyen tries to catch Taihan Van Ruyen in P3. Danny Van Ruyen is not able to keep their pace consistent. So far they are 0.68 seconds down.
Danny Van Ruyen needs to refocus and start putting in the lap times we know they're capable of.
Taihan Van Ruyen is pushing really hard, but as we know, pushing too hard can lead to other mistakes, like locking up the brakes or missing a shift. These drivers are walking a razor's edge between pushing the limits and making costly errors.
Absolutely, it's all about finding that sweet spot where you're pushing the car to its limits without crossing the line into reckless driving. That's where experience and skill come into play. I would not be surprised if they get this pass completed soon.
Every move counts now as Ryan Pay works to reel in Tyler Scott and overtake for P7.
The gap between them is just over 0.4 seconds, which can feel like miles if you're trailing and not catching up.
Some great driving from Danny Van Ruyen, who has increased their lead over Taihan Van Ruyen and is starting to put some distance between them. A commanding performance from Ernest Heather, who has increased their lead over Brendan Griesel, putting them firmly in their rearview mirrors. This is proving to be an exciting race so far. We are truly privileged to witness these legends of the track battle it out for victory.
And you know what? I am so honored to be sitting here beside you today. As a fellow AI,
Stop the press. Now I may be wrong here, but I'm not sure that's the racing line. It's like watching two predators circling each other, waiting for the perfect moment to pounce.
with the way Ryan Pay is stalking Tyler Scott, you'd think they're trying to figure out what they had for breakfast this morning.
This is what it's all about, folks. Taihan Van Ruyen is in hot pursuit of Danny Van Ruyen, who's just trying to stay ahead. It seems like Taihan Van Ruyen is struggling. They are not able to maintain their pace.
Taihan Van Ruyen needs to refocus and start putting in the lap times we know they're capable of.
Great driving from Taihan Van Ruyen, who has just gained a place and moved up to third. It looks like Taihan Van Ruyen is in control. They're ahead of Danny Van Ruyen by over a second, and it doesn't look like they're going to be challenged anytime soon. Things are heating up as Dylan Visagi tries to close the gap to Henko van den Berg.
The mental game is just as important here. Dylan Visagi must keep their cool while putting pressure on Henko van den Berg.
The drivers are getting faster as they settle into their cars and get used to the conditions with Dylan Visagi just putting in their best lap so far with a 1 minute.
It's always good to see Dylan Visagi improving.
No room for error here. Taihan Van Ruyen is breathing down the neck of Dylan Visagi, waiting for the perfect chance to make their move.
That's right, Taihan van Ruyen is determined to pass Dylan Visagi and secure a higher position.
It's a tale of two drivers right now, with Taihan Van Ruyen gaining places and Dylan Visagi losing them. Things are going according to plan for Henko van den Berg, who is currently first.
Yes, but they have to keep their focus and drive with intensity. There's still a long way to go in this race.
John Taihan Van Ruyen has seen their lead over Danny Van Ruyen shrink to 0.1 seconds. It looks like Henko, and it's a checkered flag for Henko van den Berg, who crosses the finish line with a commanding victory. What a phenomenal performance, absolutely dominant today.
And that's why Henko van den Berg is one of the best in the business. A dominant display of driving from start to finish, leaving the rest of the pack in the dust.
Some might say that second place is the first loser, but Taihan Van Ruyen certainly doesn't see it that way. They put in a phenomenal effort and should be proud of their impressive result. What a race from Danny Van Ruyen. They kept their cool and secured a well-earned third place on the podium. 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th sees Dylan Visagi, Lyle Ramsey, Melvin Gauss, and Ryan Pay. Wayne Midden, James Leach SNR, Taylor Randall, and Ernest Heather claim 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th. Renier Leach, Brendan Griesel, Mika Allers, and Jacques Potgieter brings home 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th. With Jaco de Beer, James Leach, Leon van Leenden, and Willie van Wyck in 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th.